Blackhawks win versus Vancouver for the first time since 2021 off a dominant third period. This full game was really just a nice breath of fresh air after three kind of not totally boring games, but not the most exciting games so far on this road trip. And then this one was a high action thriller that was scoreless after two periods until the Blackhawks piled on four straight goals in the final frame to take the game 5-2. Now, starting off this one, it started off, like I said, high action, a good period for both sides. The Blackhawks generated a ton of chances. Connor Bedard, in particular, was buzzing in the opening frame, but the Canucks had their fair share of chances too. Spencer Knight was real good through the first period. I think he had something like 20 saves in the first period, and Connor Bedard, man, I can't talk about him enough in this throughout this full game, but especially in the first period, he came out flying. Numerous high quality scoring chances. He had the breakaway attempt. He had a ton of shots. He finished with 13 shot attempts in this game. 5 of them landed on net. And in that first period as well, he had this 4-on-1 kind of rush that he got to the net and actually got the puck to the net. Now, he didn't get a quality shot off. He thought he may have been hooked or tripped or whatever on the end of the play. But he did get the puck to the net, and I just can't help but think if he had converted that one, that would have been up there with that Connor McDavid goal versus the New York Rangers where he went in 1-on-5 and scored. That was very similar to this Bedard rush. He just didn't get a quality shot off, but he had himself an amazing game. Finished with 1 goal, 1 assist, had the empty netter to seal it, but he was real good. Real nice one. I'm sure he feels great about it, coming back to his hometown in Vancouver and finally having a real good dominant showing after the first few games of his career in his hometown. He struggled. The second period, however, was fully dominated by the Canucks. They piled on shots. I think Spencer Knight had to make 35 saves through the first two periods, and he made all 35 potential stops. He was unreal throughout this game. But yeah, the Canucks dominated this period for the most part. Towards the second half of the period, Blackhawks put together a few quality shifts in the O-zone, but first 10 minutes of period 2, the Canucks absolutely dominated. They had a goal that was called back. They had just a ton of dominant shifts, and the second period has continued to be kind of a struggle for the Blackhawks. They were able to make it through largely thanks to Knight, and they were able to make it to the third period where they found their game for sure, but they can't have many periods like that second period and expect to be winning hockey games or keep the game tied with how bad that frame was. But they did survive to the third period where it was all Blackhawks for like outside of a 2-minute stretch for the Canucks near the end of the game, but 4 consecutive goals, 3 of them by Tyler Bertuzzi, who had a hat trick in the third period. His first 2 goals were practically the exact same. He got a pass, the first one from Matt Grzelcyk, the second one from Connor Bedard, and he just put it in backdoor. That's his specialty, his signature goal. I think they were calling him on the broadcast the human backboard, which was just hilarious because it basically describes what he's doing. He's just standing there and letting the puck bounce off him and the net. It's pretty funny, but it works really well, and that's really became his signature goal. He had 2, and then Eli Mikheyev got 1, and then Bertuzzi scored again to get the hat trick. It was 4-0 Blackhawks up to that point. The Canucks piled on 2 or put on 2 goals late in the game to spoil the shutout for Knight, but then the Blackhawks sealed it with the Connor Bedard empty netter that was set up off a great flip hoist pass from Spencer Knight. That was a fun highlight from this one. I do want to touch on the Blackhawks power play in this one. They had 1 power play opportunity, and it was Bertuzzi's second goal. So they went 1 for 1 for I think the third time in the past 6 or 7 games. They have had 1 power play opportunity, and they've converted on it. Now the power play was a little bit shaken up. They had Artem Levshunov on the top unit, as well as Teuvo Teravainen. Renzel was, I'm assuming, on the second unit, along with Frank Nazar. Now, the second unit never took the ice in this one, so we don't actually know. I'm a little confused by that. Not as much Levshunov. I think that makes sense to move him up to the top unit. He's been playing real good hockey over the past few games. Renzel struggled a bit, so making that switch makes sense to me. Hopefully, it can open up even more, and especially with a shoot-first guy like Levshunov. I think Renzel is a little bit more of a passer compared to Levshunov. It will force the penalty killers to play the point guy a little bit more, opening up Bedard, opening up Burakovsky on the flank. So I think that switch makes sense. Nazar off the top unit was a little confusing to me. Now, they just did have that one attempt that they converted on pretty early on, so we didn't see like the second unit. I'm not sure what may have gone into that decision, and if that's something that we'll see moving forward. That may have just been a one-time thing in the moment. Nazar had to miss a shift or something, so I'm not going to jump to conclusions. But if that's carries on, I guess I'll talk about it more in the future video. But that would be a little bit confusing for me. I'm not sure why they would take Nazar off. I think he's been pretty good in his role. Got to shout out Spencer Knight at least one more time. He stopped 43 of 45 shots in this one. He had 3.41 goals saved above expected. Just a masterclass from him. He kept the Blackhawks in it through to, like I said, 34 or 35, I think, saves in the first two periods. Just a dominant outing. He picked right back up where he's been pretty much all season. Outside of that one Winnipeg game, he has been awesome for the Blackhawks, and a big reason why they were able to make it to the third period, which they eventually took control over. A lot of players had real good games. Oliver Moore, I guess I'll touch on him. He used his speed a few different times to create opportunities to get in on the forecheck. He set up the Ilya Mikheyev goal, which was the Blackhawks' third goal of the game, off just a good play behind the net. He got the puck to the front of the net. Donato moved it over to Mikheyev, and he scored. But yeah, I really like what I saw from Moore. Now, he did, I wouldn't say exit this game, but he did take kind of a weird friendly fire collision from Frank Nazar. Nazar's head hit Moore's elbow. Nazar's elbow hit Moore's head, and Moore was slow to get up. He didn't take a shift after that, but that was about with 7 minutes left, and I don't know if that was just game flow. They weren't going to put him out there in the late game situation, or if there was some type of injury. Hopefully not. Maybe they just wanted to be precautious, or maybe they just didn't want to put Moore out late in the game. But I'll just throw that out there because that was one moment. Moore was slow to get up, slow to get off the ice. He didn't play after that, so we'll see if there's anything there. Obviously, hopefully not. And yeah, another game. Third straight game. We're approaching midnight here in Chicago, so I do kind of want to wrap this one up. Going to go through the takeaways from you guys here before we close it out. First one says, Knight gives us a chance every game, no matter the opponent. Could he be a realistic option for the USA Olympic team as a third goalie behind Hellebuck and Ottinger? I definitely think so. With his play this year, he has been really, really good. I'm not sure, off the top of my head, it's kind of tough to think of what other options there could be for the third goalie, because it does seem like they'll lean Hellebuck and Ottinger since this is Knight's first season as a starter. I don't think he has a realistic chance of being a top two goalie, but to make it as a third goalie, I certainly think it's possible with how good he's played. I mean, there haven't been a lot of goalies in the NHL, if any, that have been better than him this season. So yeah, I definitely think he has a shot. This one also says, how do you feel about Soderblom moving forward with Commesso playing so great and Rockford? I really like Arvid. I've always been a big Arvid fan, even through his struggles. Now, Comesso's certainly knocking on the door, but we'll just see how they handle Arvid when his contract's up. I'm not sure if that's after this year or he has 1 year remaining, but when that comes, I'm sure I'll talk about that, probably in a separate video, talk about the goalie situation. But it's a good problem to have if you're the Blackhawks, where you have a few quality goalies that could make NHL impacts. You even have Adam Gajan in the system, who's having a huge bounce back year. I had basically ruled him out, but he's putting together a real solid year. You have a couple other guys in the system like Stan Bereznoy that could potentially be NHL options in the future. So those guys are a little bit more down the road. Right now, it's kind of Soderblom and Commesso both being the NHL backup, or the people capable to play that NHL backup role. And I think they're going to lean Arvid for sure, just with his contract. I don't even think he can be sent down without going through waivers. So he'll be the backup while his contract goes. But once his contract runs out, it will be interesting to see what they do, because it does feel like Comesso's earned a shot. And I'm sure he could fill in and be very capable. It's just a situation where the Blackhawks have a couple of real good goalies that can play in the NHL. Next one, I can't believe we got Spencer Knight for Seth Jones. That trade could be rebuild altering. Yeah, that was one of the best trades Kyle Davidson has made in his tenure, and he's made a few good ones. But getting a potential franchise goalie, someone that's certainly playing like a franchise goalie for Seth Jones, along with a pick, real good stuff. From KD, it's obviously looking real good for both sides. Shout out for making another late nighter for us. Yeah, who doesn't love these 9 p.m. games? It's 11:52 p.m. right now as I'm recording the takeaways video. Thank goodness this is the last 9 p.m. one of this road trip. great first and third period. Second period was horrible. They need to fix that immediately. Yeah, definitely. I talked about that. Bedard was amazing once again. He was flying all night. Definitely one of the best Bedard games we've ever seen from him. He was looking like just a super confident player, really playing his game. Forgot about this until post-game commentary, but Bertuzzi got robbed of that goal in the Hawks game last game against these guys due to the goaltender interference. Yeah, there was also goaltender interference that looked a lot similar to that Bertuzzi one. And they did rule goaltender interference, so it actually helped the Blackhawks this time. So at least they stayed consistent with that call. I'm sure everybody would have been really frustrated if that was ruled a good goal, but it definitely worked out for Bertuzzi in the end as he had 3 in this one. Bedard has looked miles better since the hat trick. Definitely sparked something. Definitely agree. He's been real good and looked amazing in this one. That's what most of these are saying. It's mostly about Bedard and Knight, and I can't blame anyone who said that because they were both really good. Last one here I'm going to talk about. Before I do, just want to give a quick update. I mentioned potential Oliver Moore injury, and I didn't really think it was going to be an injury, but I can confirm it looks like he's all good from shout out Ben Pope, who gave me that information. So I think we're all good with Oliver Moore. Just wanted to clarify that before I wrapped up this video. But last takeaway here says, for how great Levchinov has been playing, he cannot make that turnover on the power play, and Crevier is carving himself a role in this team. For Levchinov, yeah, that's unfortunately just going to be a part of his game until he starts to mature more and more. What's funny with Levchinov is he'll make a really bad turnover like that, but then he also has an assist on the goal that happens like 20 seconds later. So he's a player that has a lot of ups and a lot of downs. It's really, unfortunately, something we have to live with. Now, some of these bad turnovers obviously want to get cleaned up kind of at ASAP. You don't really want to see those at all, but that's just going to be part of Levchinov's game until he rounds out a little bit more. But he has been better overall outside of a few turnovers, a few bad pinches, like he had one in the third period that he pinched up on, got by him, and that led to the Canucks' first goal. But unfortunately, that's just something we'll have to live with for now, but definitely want to get those cleaned up as soon as possible. And then as for Crevier, yeah, the minutes have really showed that he is carving a legitimate role on this team. He's surpassed Murphy. He's surpassed Grzelcyk. He's no longer really the 7th defenseman, even though he's listed as the 7th defenseman. And yeah, he's been a real success, real nice blue line piece, and he's really forcing the Blackhawks to keep running 11-7 because he's playing quality big defensive shifts. When the puck's in the defensive zone to start, they'll put Crevier out there, but they'll put Crevier out there for the penalty kill. Who play that defensive, those tough defensive minutes, and that's allowing guys like Levchinov, like Vrinzel to start in the offensive zone, to play more in the offensive zone, and that's really benefiting them, allowing them to play to their strengths. So Crevier has been real good. He definitely has a role with this team right now, and that's why the Blackhawks have been successfully running 11-7. Alrighty, that does it for this one. Blackhawks with a nice win, first game of the road trip. Hopefully they can continue that Friday in Calgary. Feels like the Blackhawks played in Calgary a ton last year, but they're back in Calgary again on Friday. So that'll be the next game. Luckily not a 9 p.m. puck drop, but it's still an 8 p.m. Not too bad, though. We'll take it. Better than that 9 p.m. I really hope we don't have many more of these 9 p.m. starts. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. We'll see you for Friday's game in Calgary.